hyperspace where friends get together and discuss the hit 90s soap opera, sci-fi, amazing, awesome show, Babylon 5. Today, we are about to get all into what's really been going on for the last season and a half. It's going to be wonderful, so hold on tight. Let's go.
This is Legendary Black Lion.
I'm Captain Mel Asylum.
Nita, the painter.
And this is Sunday.
So we watched episode 16 of season 2. It is titled In the Shadow of Zahadum.
Starring John Travolta.
Oh my god. That is not John Travolta. That is not young John Travolta from Hairspray. No, is it Grease? That is not young John Travolta from Grease.
From one hair product to the next. Hairspray, grease, conditioner, shampoo, whatever the movie was called.
He was in another show before that too.
Who, the Morton guy?
Matter.
Or are you talking about John Travolta?
No,
I don't know.
John Travolta.
He's what was that one? Now I'm getting stuck. I'm getting stuff all mixed up because there's like Boogie Nights. Oh, Saturday Night Fever. That was John Travolta. We watched the episode in season 2, number 16, entitled "In the Shadow of Zahadum." Fun name of a planet, Zahadum. It worked in the 90s, but ever since then, people have been making up nonsense names for places. And so this just doesn't help. It does sound like it's comically ominous. I don't know. In this episode, we're actually picking up on the Narn Centauri War. And we're not pretending that it's not happening like 2 episodes ago. Mm-hmm. And so we start off, Garibaldi is talking with Zach, I believe. And they're just talking about how bad it is having so many Narn show up. The war's going on. Babylon 5 is kind of like a destination for refugees. It can only hold so many people. We saw when it was taken over by those ground pounders, and they ended up forcing people to like double and triple up. And now that we have the Narn Centauri War, it's like Narn are waiting. They're waiting on their transports to get onto the station. And Zach and Garibaldi are basically talking about how that works. And it's basically everyone injured goes to med lab. People are dying, they go to med lab. You got to wait on the station until you're travel ready. Everybody's just going to have to tighten up until it's time to go. And Zach is just like, this is really rough. We could probably help more people if we have people move on. Maybe we just only bring on the, what do you say? Maybe we only bring on the injured, and the people who are ready to go, we ship them off. And we hear about Franklin's orders, or, the way he does things. He doesn't want people to die on the docks alone. And so he's like, we're going to send those to med lab. And this is the one and only time that Zach is being halfway smart. He's using his brain. And he's like, we can do some good if we're like, not as careful with these people. And Garibaldi's like, nope, we're going to do what the doctor says. And it's also what Sheridan says too. So, and Zach is all like, well, it's easy to feel for these people. You can see what's going on, but we kind of got to move people around, right? Then we see that Veer is walking around on the Zocalo, and he sees none other than our friend, apparently looks like John Travolta to Nita, Mr. Morton, sitting down at a table. And Morton is like, he's very contemptuous towards Veer. He's treating Veer like a subordinate, an underling.
Like gum on the bottom of his shoe.
When Veer recognizes him, he's on like, Londo couldn't be here, so I'm here. Just give me the message. Veer does not like Morton. He absolutely does not like him. This is why I like Veer so much. He snaps back at Londo, and he is treating Mr. Morton like garbage.
He asked him, what did he want? Eventually, because he's like, I don't know why I got there. But Veer tells him, what I want is for your head to be on a plate, and I'm going to look at him and smile and wave.
Yeah, he was like, I want to live just long enough. He said, when they put your head on a pike, as a warning to the next 10 generations that some favors come with too high a price. And is great because Veer has been consistent the entire time. He's like, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't like this dude. Now he's just staring him in the face and like, look, I don't like you. I hope they kill you. I hope you die. People like you should die. Nah.
I want to see it.
I want to see it. And I'm going to wave just like this. And that wave is terrible, by the way. It's, I guess, not for no reason, but it is taunting.
Pretentious? Yeah.
Something.
Very taunting.
Yeah. And so Veer and Morden, they don't like each other. Captain Sheridan is responding to the crisis. So he has all this stuff set up, making sure that there is a way to handle all the Narn coming in, and Garibaldi is just trying to like talk with them. And he's like, this is rough. He's explaining how everything goes to med lab, and Sheridan's like, okay, look, we're going to prioritize humane treatment. And we're just going to deal with this. Like, this war's going on. It's two terrible groups of people. Let's be good. And so then they just kind of start talking about personal matters. Garibaldi notices that there is an image of the Icarus on the display, and he asks Sheridan about it. That's where we go into details about Sheridan's wife, Anna, and the Icarus being lost. And while they're reviewing those records, Garibaldi notices one of the passengers is none other than our friend Mr. Morden, just sitting there smiling, looking all young and fresh. And he is one of the people that died on the Icarus.
Allegedly.
Garibaldi's like, wait. I know that guy. And Sheridan's like, there is no way you know that guy. He's dead. He's dead with everybody. And my poor wife, Anna. He's like, nah, man, he was here not too long ago. They go through the records and he's like, yeah, that dude's still here. And then this is where we see Sheridan snap. And for the rest of the episode, Sheridan is just, what did you call it, Mel? A trauma response?
Trauma response.
Yeah. Sheridan is a raw nerve. Yeah, we have the intro. Right after that, Garibaldi, he explains all the stuff about Morden being on the station. And Garibaldi says, yeah, man, he's been here a couple times. It's no big deal. He hasn't broken any rules. And Sheridan is like, okay, but you have to understand, like, he's supposed to be dead. We should probably talk to him. Garibaldi being horrible at his job is like, there's nothing I can do. I don't know.
And he would have found a wraparound if it was something else. If it was something he wanted.
Agreed. Now all of a sudden you don't know how to bend the rules.
Right. Like he could have tracked him, like stalked the dude, like, because he's really good at that. Well, actually he's not, but he likes doing that.
Yeah.
I like stalking people, but he's not good at it. You get shot in the back that way.
Right. It's just so weird because Garibaldi, it's not weird anymore because we've seen how lately he's been terrible at his job, but then he just like verbalized how terrible he is. He's like, what can I do? My hands are tied. He hasn't broken any rules. And I'm like, your senior officer is telling you this dude is supposed to be dead. You've been hanging out with him for the past couple of months. Now that you know that he's associated with a disappearing ship, you're just like not going to ask questions. You're not going to try to figure out what's going on.
Because he's not buddies with Sheridan like he was with like the old dude. If it had been one of his friends, he would have been all on it. But he's just he just met this guy and he somehow let him keep his job. So he doesn't really care. He's only invested when it has to do with him and his pride.
Yeah. So Sheridan, he's visibly upset and he orders that Morden be in detention. He wants to question him. So that's going to help us see how the rest of this episode unfolds. Talia Winters, she is getting herself ready. She gets a message. Actually, she's getting herself ready. And this dude comes by. That's Pierce Maccabee. He is the regional director for the Ministry of Peace. He just walks in on her. He's just like, hey, what's going on? I want to proposition you. So she's over there putting on her X-Men uniform. and he's and he's talking about like, we are, I'm here to invite you to our Ministry of Peace classes or whatever. And
it's a timeshare seminar.
Yeah. He's basically saying that they're gathering support for their new peace program. And he explains that folks back home are nervous about the war and they need to be in an environment of peace. I wrote down that this is a typical response of like liberals to authoritarian violence. You don't have people pick like, hey, we shouldn't be this way. Hey, we shouldn't be that way. Or maybe we should support refugees. Maybe we should help relieve people. They're like, no, we should be protesting the war and violence altogether and do nothing else. And this also is kind of like, I'm just jumping ahead. This is kind of like what Earth, like the pro-Earth people are like. This is how we kind of co-opt the conversation and make it pro-human, anti-alien. And it just gave me a bunch of red flags because he goes to the telepath first.
I found him very creepy the way he talked. For some reason, it just creeps me out. And it may just be like his accent or something. It's just very indicative too. I'm trying to be real sweet and nice, but I'm really a cult or something.
Yeah, he had that culty feel. He had kind of longer hair, which I don't know, man. Something about that says the children of the corn to me. But good actor. He made it feel very icky. Yeah.
And Winters probably was more susceptible to stuff like that since she grew up with it. She's raised by icky play niceness.
What? Some weird guy wants to invite me to his lectures? Sure, I'll go. Like her boss is a weird guy, so.
Yeah, she's comfortable with weird people.
Yeah, so she agrees to go. Dr. Franklin, we pop in at Med Lab on him, and this dude is nodding off in the chair, and it's wild. Because we need to pay attention to Dr. Franklin. We've seen what he's done in the past. He's ready to run a free clinic. He's using his own life force to save people's lives. He's running the Underground Railroad. And he is like, he's very dedicated to taking care of the Narn refugees. And Ivanova is like, you haven't slept in 36 hours. He's like, no big deal. I got all this work to do. I'm going to do all these stems. I'll be fine. She's like, that ain't no substitute for eating and rest. And he goes, I don't care. I'm a doctor, damn it.
He needs stem. He's not, what is it? Some kind of neurodivergent that lets him hyper-focus and just get energy from that? That's crazy. Sorry to hear that.
Ivanova, she's all like, hey, look, we understand that this is bad, but we need you. You have a whole staff that can take care of this. He's like, thanks for the vote of confidence. Because remember, we know that Ivanova's God, but Franklin thinks he's God. Yeah. And he's mad that she suggested that he rest. You are of no use to me or anybody in this condition. She's like, fine, whatever. We see Mr. Morton. He is in a line ready to board his transport to leave Babylon 5. And there's our buddy, dumb old Zach, checking people's identicards. Morton walks up. Zach's like, let me get your identicard. And he goes, wait here for a minute. And he's like, is there a problem? He's like, no, just hang on. No, there's no problem. No. And then he scans in. He's like, all right, well, you know what? We need you to step out of line so we can, let these other people go and we talk. He's like, is there a problem? It's like, and then he goes, no, there won't be a problem if you just step over here. And I'm just like, the TSA. They have evolved to space. Not only are they harassing travelers in space, but they were ready to just open fire and blast that dude immediately. It's like 5 people showed up and PBGs are being like turned on or heated up. I don't know.
And they couldn't do the like sneaky little you want a prize, come this way. And then it's all of a sudden an interrogation.
It would have been hilarious if they were like, oh, could you step over here for a random check? I know this is several years before that happened, but man, that would have been so funny. So they got Morton in a cell And Sheridan, this is what I thought was so cool. Sheridan is deathly quiet. There's no music. And all you hear is like the air and some of the background noise of computers and stuff. Morden is the only one talking. And he's over there asking, like, why am I here? What's going on? Sheridan presents a picture of his late wife, and he's on like, oh, yes, that's what you want to know about. My bad. I forgot to talk about it. Yeah. So, like, yeah, I was on the Icarus and everybody's dead. And Sheridan is like showing more and more pictures, and he's like, oh, yeah, you know, it was taken down. I was in a coma, but a transport going by rescued me. I don't remember exactly what happened. I was in a coma. But I'm here and everything's fine. And Sheridan's like, how in the hell are you picked up by a transport? You make it all the way back to Earth, but you don't check in to be like, hey, I'm here. Hey, y'all, I'm alive. Oh, yeah, by the way, everyone else is dead. and Morden, you know, he's over there spinning the web, and Sheridan is just not letting himself be manipulated. Sheridan is accusing Morden of lying, and he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna just hang on to you. And Morden's like, you're gonna have to charge me. Sheridan is like, we'll figure that out, don't worry, we got things to talk about. Which, okay, wasn't there something earlier in the series where Garibaldi did the same thing to a person, where he like held somebody, was like, I'll figure out how to charge you?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly who that was.
I have to double check, but that kind of reminds me of it.
It's something he would do.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes me feel like the writer for this show, this episode, wasn't the normal head writer. This was what
really?
Because
it felt so
didn't come off like them. Like even Ivanova's character wasn't doing the Ivanova thing.
I agree with that because the police chief person not wanting to like do whatever the captain wanted to do to like break or bend the rules was out of character for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everyone was out of character basically except for Franklin, who was his care outside of flirting. He's the doctor. He takes care of people. That's his whole character.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody was coming across as very stoic and serious about the war. And then they also seemed a lot more connected to each other, like a better relationship. Because Garibaldi talking to Sheridan, he's trying to be the voice of reason, but Garibaldi sucks. Ivanova is trying to be a caring person to Franklin, but Franklin is egotistical. Delenn and her very like fervent pleas. There's a lot of emotion on display in this episode.
Without a lot of build up to it either. It's just kind of there.
Yeah. Well, on the one hand, I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. However, with the background of the war, we can kind of headcanon in that like this is taking a toll on people. It's taking a toll on the main character's psyche. They're up around the clock and they're really doing their thing to take care of the Narn, and they were not feeling great.
I think it felt weird to me because it makes sense for them to be that way because of the war. But when telling the story, you didn't have any transition from their normal personality to I'm drained now.
Yeah. And
they started with the episode being we are drained, but without showing the drainage that well, I think.
Yeah.
Except for Franklin, he's the only one who seemed right. Ivanova being caring and open like that was kind of slightly out of character.
Maybe.
But then she was being commanding about it. Too.
Yeah.
Like, you gonna go eat sleep.
it could be kind of like a return of the favor, because in the next scene, Franklin and Ivanova, they meet up at breakfast and they're eating and she's checking on him. Remember earlier this season, they all had those diet plans and Franklin was on everybody's case about it. So this is kind of her returning the favor. She knows, like, look, I know you care about this. Franklin reveals, this is wild to me. Franklin reveals that he had these bad dreams and he's on like, I see the look of every patient that I wasn't able to save. And I'm like, that is messed up. That's trauma right there. Yeah. He has this monologue about seeing God or like beliefs in God. He's asking Ivanova, like, do you believe in God? she's smiling, but we know for a fact she don't. And then Franklin
She believes in herself.
Yeah. Ivanova's guy. But Franklin, he talks about like how like he's a foundationalist, and humans started that when they first discovered other aliens, and they think some different things about what religion and God is. They'll explain more of that in other seasons, but this is weird. He's like, God is too big to be defined by words. The closer you get, the farther you are. And he talks about people who are about to die. They're looking past him at something. And he's like, if you look in their eyes, you can see a reflection of God. Then he's like, how can we believe in a God if he doesn't believe in us? And I'm like, whoa, where are we going with this, Franklin? Like, what's happening?
You just say you believe in him, but then you say that you don't believe in him. You believe he exists, but you don't believe in him. Like yeah, that's
it's wild. He's mad at God. Which this is the obligatory J. Michael Straczynski mad at God monologue in just about every one of his pieces except for Thor. So he did that a lot. After that breakfast, Sheridan is still interrogating Morden. Morden is lying. And Sheridan is like jumping on everything like, how do you know this? Why didn't you do this? How come nobody knows this? He's trying to find that verifiable lie. You're seeing Sheridan push hard. He's trying to stay on the case. He knows that he can't do anything to Morden for real, but ask him questions. It makes me wonder, like, is this also kind of like why he was wanting to be his own lawyer or whatever a couple episodes ago? But,
yeah, that didn't make sense.
So now we have a lecture with the Ministry of Peace. What's the guy's name? God, Pierce Maccabee. Pierce Maccabee is giving his lecture. He's like, we're all about peace. We're just focused on subversive thought. And I'm like, oh, we got the thought police here. He's like, hey, we're introducing our program, the Night Watch. It's a paid volunteer group. It's about promoting peace and the type of way that we want people to be.
And then affirms that you are creepy.
And the way he explained this stuff was so weird. He's like, look, all you gotta do is wear our colors, raise awareness of Night Watch, and make people start thinking about peace. Like, make them think about it.
And take your 50 credits a month.
And look who's in this lecture.
Volunteer for hire? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What do they call it? Astroturfing, where you pay people to do a thing to make it seem like a movement is bigger than it really is. You just got a bunch of paid actors to stand around. That's what they're doing. They're like collecting information, protecting society from bad ideas. Like, so many red flags. But look who's in the crowd. There's Zach. There's Talia. There's a bunch of other security people. Zach is just dumb. He's half asleep at this lecture as it is, and then he's like, "What, 50 credits? Yeah, I'll do that."
And there are people in authority. Yeah.
It makes me
like being smooth brain and not thinking for themselves. That's how they get put into the place of authority. So the thinking person can tell them what to do to enforce it to all the other people.
Because, if they really wanted to get people in with the whole 50 credits, so he could have went to down below and had everybody wearing.
Right. Exactly.
That part.
Right.
That's a good point, Mel.
It makes me wonder what makes up the security team. Like, are these private contractors? Like, do you just go to the police station, get commissioned, and you can work on the station? Are you forming military? Like, what is it? They don't like their security, but they don't seem to be like military or whatever.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Oh, so they're mall cops.
Kind of. Well, like Garibaldi said, I train my men myself. They're good.
Oh,
I
God.
can't finish that.
So they all suck. All of them just suck.
They're trained by Garibaldi.
And that's why they don't care. They're ready to shoot things or just not do anything at all. Got it.
Because he learned everything he knows from his dad.
So funny that you're tickled over that.
And the slogan from Night Watch was, "We must protect society against its own worst instincts," which is a heck of a slogan. It reminds me about how political pundits here was saying like, "Oh, well, we can't let people have too much freedom. That would be a bad thing." And I'm like, how is having what the heck is too much freedom? We will probably rant about that in the future because this Night Watch is going to be around for a little bit.
And like the problem with a lot of these groups that are toxic and problematic is that they start off saying reasonable stuff. And when he said that we can't find peace amongst the universe until we find peace within ourselves. And that is so enormously true. And then he goes into, we have to monitor the way everybody thinks. Like, you just went off deep end.
You need a little bit of sugar to make the medicine go down. Come
Yeah.
on, now.
Need a little bit of sugar to let the strychnine go down.
Mm-hmm.
The cyanide, yeah.
Or the red pill.
Oh, yep. Okay, so Garibaldi is confronting Sheridan, and he's like, "What you're doing is illegal. You're detaining him. You haven't charged him. He ain't done nothing. I got no chance, boss. I gotta let him go." And then he's like, I understand this whole thing about your wife, but you're wrong. Wasn't Garibaldi military?
Yeah, they were in the war. Was he in the war?
Yeah. Yes, he was. So there's no camaraderie among people that served in the military, especially of senior officer. It's just Garibaldi being whatever he is, a loner. He can't bend the rules for Sheridan, but he can bend the rules for just about everybody else.
He bends it for his boys.
He bent the rules for Ivanova, and he's basically telling Sheridan, like, I can't allow these violations. This is where Sheridan just like snaps at him. He's like, you know what, Garibaldi, you interpreting regulations to a senior officer could be considered insubordination. You don't want to be insubordinate to me, do you? Huh?
Which makes no sense because Ivana was running around doing it.
Right. Exactly. Oh, yeah. Garibaldi is being obstructive. Like, again, he's not helping Sheridan. He's more about like the law. This does actually forces us to think about like the ethical tensions that are brought up in the episode, because truth be told, Garibaldi represents like the official law of the station, yada yada yada. He's not good at his job, but he's the best we got. And then Sheridan is like, I can exercise power that is above the law or get the law to fall in line with what I want, which is kind of like that authoritarian view. I understand what they're doing with the show, but Garibaldi is now becoming obstructive because he hasn't been helping Sheridan. He's more been like watching Sheridan. Mm-hmm. But Garibaldi's like, okay, you know what? I can't watch this happen. I quit. It is very interesting that when Garibaldi gets just ruffled a little bit, this dude quits. He's like, I'm going home.
Yeah, isn't this the second time he either quit or tried to quit?
Yeah.
Because something didn't go his way.
Yeah, it was when Sinclair got replaced.
And when he got shot.
Yeah, he got shot.
He was like, I quit.
Yeah. So now we have some change in the leadership. Since Garibaldi is quote unquote resigning, Sheridan goes to Zach. And Zach just looks dumb. He's like, look, Zach, Garibaldi's taking a leave of absence while he's absent. We need you to take his place. And Zach is like, oh, geez, where's Garibaldi going, you know? And Sheridan's like, don't worry about that. We got work to do. And that's where I'm like, Zach is just dumb.
So violate this man's rights. Are you ready?
And
yes, understood.
Well, I guess so, sir. I don't know much, but I know how to violate rights. And then
he was trained by Garibaldi.
Oh God, yeah. So at that time, Sheridan receives a message, and it's Veer. Veer's like, we gotta talk. And
when this part happened, I thought that Veer was going off the rails. He's like, I'm sick of this shit and I'm about to snitch. I was like, yeah, Veer.
Nope.
No.
Mm-mm.
Now Vera was like, "Hey, we hear that you got Morton." He's like, "How you know that?" And he's like, "Well, he ain't anywhere else. We figured he might be in jail."
Well, he wasn't in bed. When people go missing, you check the hospitals or the police department.
Yo, that's a leap, though. You know. And he's like, yeah, we got him in custody. Why do you need him? He's like, oh, well, we figure since you got him, he has diplomatic immunity. And then his antennas go. It's like, that's a heck of a way for y'all to go for this guy. Why would your people extend diplomatic immunity? He was like, oh, well, he's an official guest of the Centauri government. And Sheridan's like, look, diplomatic immunity only applies to people who have been charged. We haven't charged him with anything yet. We're hanging on to this dude. And Veer, like, I know Veer has a job to do, but that dude is kind of like, all right. He's, you know, of course the government's not going to like it, and he's trying to do his job, but he don't like Morton at all.
But he's scared of what he can do.
Yeah.
So that might be why he's complying.
And then Ivanova confronts Sheridan, and she's like, why are you still hanging on to this dude? You're being irrational. I'm going to have to report this if it doesn't stop. And Sheridan, like, he goes off on her too. He's explaining, like, look, this is about the truth about what happened to my wife. The dude in there knows something. He's lying. We just got to figure it out. He asks Ivanova, he's like, if you were in my position, could you make the decision to let him go? And she's like, no. And he explains, like, what the way he felt when his wife died. He was very torn up about it. Pretty much the only thing that saved him was his career. He focused hard on his career so he could forget about, like, how he felt about his wife dying. Of course, Morton popping up, like, brings those feelings back.
This is why I thought it was a trauma response, because he's being very irrational, and normally trauma responses aren't rational, but they are based on something that you feel is a threat to you. And him losing a part of his life is a threat to him. He's terrified, and he's trying to get something back from it. He knows he can't get his wife back. Well, not really, because he's like, maybe she's still alive. The idea of either getting revenge for her or finding her or finding out exactly what happened is him trying to find that safety within himself, where he didn't have a stable anything before, because all he had was his wife and his job before. There was nothing else to him. Like, you're not stable. It's not enough to hold you, because those things they can go away, as one has. You've almost lost your job several times already. What would you do if you...
And the way we hear about his relationship with his wife, he absolutely loved her. His sister was her best friend. That connection being severed had to be really hurt.
I really felt the same way, that maybe the wife wasn't dead was the first thing I thought when they had made the connection that one person from the same ship had passed away.
Yeah.
Has survived. I was like, yeah, she could be alive. It seemed very reasonable to me.
Of course, because if this one guy's alive, so other people could be alive. We need to figure out exactly what happened, how it happened, so we can see if she's alive. Because now he has a hope. It could be a false hope, but it's in him now. And he let this guy go. That's loss. Sheridan gets the bright idea of talking to Talia Winters. And he's like, all you got to do is just scan this guy. You know, we know that he's lying. And she's like, nah, bro. Not only do I not want to do that, but the Psychor is like, we don't do unauthorized scans that don't have to do with an investigation. Sheridan's just like, all right. Okay, cool. So she leaves and he's like, all right, Zach, check this out. Morton is in that cell. It probably ain't good for him no more. He said it's probably really ripe in there now. So we're going to move him from this sector to this sector. He's like, all right. Oh, yeah. By the way, escort Talia from this place to this place. And then Zach, smart and dumb at the same time, is like, they'll go right past each other. And he's like, I know. And Zach is like, all right, boss. Like nothing.
Like,
just...
they couldn't put that line in there that way if Michael was still... It still felt weird to me. It was like, why did y'all say that? Why didn't you just do it? Like, other writers probably would have just giving us the shock of seeing the result of what happened, but he sat there and says it. Oh,
I feel like it's the only character who can blatantly say what the writers want the audience to take from that. And he says it in the dumbest way. And that's probably them making fun of the audience or the network. Like, this show is too cerebral. The audience won't get it. It's like, all right, well, here's Zach. Zach is going to help explain it to the audience.
Because it was like I said, they had the overlapping themes where there were 3 or at least 3 different stories going on in season 1 that all had the same theme. They stopped doing that in season 2.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to find out why, but they kind of dumbed down the show a little bit when it came to that. Like,
yeah, maybe.
Just go through the motion.
You hear that, audience members? They think you're dumb.
Yo, there's a whole side conversation about that. We'll probably save that for a side mission. Talia walks right past security, escorting Morden. She looks at him, happens to scan him because, she can't control it all of a sudden. And she hears the shadows of voices collapse in pain. And Morden, he's all like, what the heck? And he whispers, or wait, to the unseen entities. I know that she kind of sensed y'all, but y'all just chill out. They take Talia to the med lab and she's recovering, explaining her experience. She's like, I heard voices. It was like looking into a deep darkness and feeling cold. And Franklin is like, well, maybe you should file a report. And she looks over at Zach, who's just sitting there looking dumb. She's like, I think I already did. Because Talia's smart. She knew that Sheridan had set that up, and she's pissed off about it. Franklin is kind of like listening and understanding too. Sheridan walks in, he's confronting them, and she just looks at him, smacks him, and storms off. So everybody knows the jig is up. He did it. And Franklin is looking at him and is like, hey, is that worth it?
No assaulting an officer file reported? What? Where'd they do that?
No, he knew he deserved that.
Yeah, because if anybody files any reports, Sheridan, you made sure that these 2 people would pass. The witnesses would be like Zach, Talia, Franklin, a couple other security folks. They would all know that it's warranted.
Like, what I found weird about it was, how did he know? Like, she's around people all the time. She doesn't read them. So why did he think that her walking in the same hall as him was going to have an effect before he found out that what he finds out later in the episode? Yeah. So they kind of jumped the gun with that quite a bit. Like, that should have happened after he found out that he may be one of the Shadow or working with the Shadow. He didn't know that yet.
It could be that he's so desperate that he's using anything and everything that he can to find out what he can, because he's hyper fixated on Morden, and he's like, I'm gonna use Garibaldi. Garibaldi doesn't want to do it. I'm gonna use Zach. Zach is malleable. He's a little canister of putty. I can mold him. I can use Talia. I can use all these people. So that's what's happening. He is flying off the deep end with his power.
Maybe that's for him being irrational.
Yeah.
Trauma response.
Yeah.
Maybe since I put it in her mind to read him, she might accidentally read him and be like nosy or something.
Yeah. And so after that, he walks out and Delenn and Kosh, they confront Sheridan. And they're like, hey, you need to stop, bro. Which, that's surprising, right? The 2 mystical people on the station, they're like, we know what you're doing and you need to stop that right now. Not because it's wrong.
Like, we fuck with what you doing. It makes sense.
But you need to chill. And they're like, what you need to do is you need to release Morden. We need to tell you some things. And Sheridan is like, but why? He knows something about my wife. And Delenn,
that Sunday shit, I need to know. Fuck for what?
And Delenn is like, okay, look, we'll tell you the answers, but when you know the truth, you'll never sleep well again. And
then I thought about the president of the United States, whatever secrets they get that age them like 30 years and 4.
It's called cocaine. So we have this nice moment of Delenn explaining what's going on with Morden and why Sheridan needs to back off, we learn about the first ones. What they said was there's these ancient beings millions of years ago. They are the shadows, and they were active when the first ones were active. 1,000 years ago, there was a great war, and the last of the first ones were part of that war, and the Minbari. And Sheridan is like, wait a minute, last of the first ones, who would that even be? And Delenn just turns and looks at Kosh, and Kosh is just like, it's kind of wild because it's like he's in his encounter suit. It just looks alien, but you're like, wait a minute, he's that old, or Vorlons are that old? And she's explaining like, yeah, he has to stay in his encounter suit because if he didn't wear it, he would be recognized. And Sheridan is like, recognized by who? And Kosh is like, everyone. We get a little bit of a callback to season 1 where Delenn sends Kosh the question, and she goes, 3 years ago I sent Kosh a question and he sent back an answer. He's like, okay, what was the answer? The answer was yes. Okay, what was that? What was the question? The question was, are the shadows active in Zahadun again? Which, this is the first time that Sheridan has heard that name. He's a Zahadun. Wait a minute, that's the place that Jakar has been warning us about for a long time. And Kosh is like, yeah, Jakar has been right the entire time. We've been saying it. I've been saying it. Jakar's right. He's always been right.
When they showed the shadow creature form, it looked like what Jakar had in his book.
Yes. Like
yes.
that crazy design, yes.
Yes. Where he sneaks onto the station without nobody knowing in his meditation.
And then she explains like, you need to let Morden go because here's the deal. We defeated the shadows a long time ago because they originally moved too fast. We can see what they were doing. We defeated them. This time they're moving a lot slower, and the forces of light needs time to prepare. So you need to let them go. And Sheridan's like, I don't get it. Like, why do you keep saying I need to let him go? It's just like, because he's never alone. Wherever he is, he has help. Basically, he has shadows with him at all times. And that the voices that y'all heard earlier are the shadows talking to him, and he's trying to, keep them from murdering folks. So Sheridan's like, all right, cool, whatever. This sucks. And so he goes back to the brig, and he's talking to Zach. Here's the truth. I like Zach, but there's so much Zach in here, and he's just dumb this whole episode. Sheridan explains to Zach how the situation reminds him of World War II. But this is where I'm explaining where Zach is so dumb. He's asking Zach, and this is like 200 years in the future. He's like, have you ever studied ancient history? Do you know about World War II? And Zach is like, oh man, reading books make me sleepy. I don't really get into that kind of stuff, boss. Oh my God.
Gosh, you're being accurate. It's hilarious.
That's what he sounds like to me.
Yeah, pretty much. He's a caricature of like the dumb security guard.
Yeah.
He must be the type of person that is willing to be trained by Garibaldi.
Oh my God. Yeah. Garibaldi's dumb, but he knows he needs people dumber than him to control. So yeah. But Sheridan explains his analogy of the World War II Enigma code, where Winston Churchill basically had to make a choice to let a town be destroyed or reveal that the Brits had broken the German code. So he was like, yeah, we'll let them people die. When Churchill went and walked in that blown up city, he felt bad. But the point is, he ultimately was able to win the war because he let this one bad thing happen. But that bad thing was awful. Yeah. Sheridan tells Zach he's remembering Delenn's words, like, Morden is never alone. They're looking at the monitor with his cell. He's like, hey, wait a minute. What's that noise coming from his cell? He's like, oh, I don't know. We put in new speakers. It's been kind of weird. It's been coming and going lately. I don't know, boss. We can look at like infrared and everything, right? He's like, yeah. And so they do that. and they scan it, and for a brief second you see the shadows full color, full size. These are like man
That
size.
shit was creepy as hell. I'm like, oh, that is creepy. It's like out of a really good scary movie, and they pan past the mirror, and then the person in the mirror moves, but the person in the reality space doesn't, or the refrigerator opens, and you know when the freezer closes that there's going to be somebody there behind the shower curtain in the backseat of a car. I'm sorry, I watched a lot of scary movies and I like them, but they do be giving me real scary situations in life where sometimes I have to pause for the cause.
And so now Sheridan understands what Delenn means, that Morden's never alone. And the problem is he sees it, but when Zach looks up, the picture goes away. Sheridan's able to see it, but nobody else. He's like, you know what? We got to let him go. Zach is like, are you sure? He's like,
Now
yeah.
he's got to be Churchill, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We come back to Sheridan he walks up to Garibaldi. He gives him his PPG back and his comm, and he is admitting his mistakes to Garibaldi, and he's like, look, I would like for you to come back, and you're right about me going too far. And Garibaldi's like, oh, all right, yeah. Now you promise you won't let this happen again? Sheridan's like, there won't be a next time.
And I think that both of those is bullshit, because he doesn't think that he went too far. He did exactly what was necessary to get the answers that he was looking for. And if there wasn't this only whoever needs to know bullshit happening, he would have already known and not had to violate that man's rights. Furthermore, if a situation comes up again, he is going to be triggered and respond again. There's no way to avoid trauma responses. You can manage to the best of your ability and try to go in more informed next time. But he's a human with emotions, and he's going to react. The end.
Yeah.
So don't be delusional.
Yeah. Until he heals from that and becomes more of a full person and not just living in the shadow of what happened to him. Because he was already doing that by only his wife and his job being like his everything, his only thing. Like, be a full person. You can love your wife to death, but you still gotta be a person to love that person.
Yeah.
A person has to love the person. He has a lot of healing to do. I think, yeah, most definitely he's probably not going to heal because he's still like bombarded with work and he's going to bury himself in that. But it'd be nice. I just kind of want to tell the audience, like, you can heal from your traumas. You can.
Yeah.
It's a work, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of work, and it doesn't have to be hard work, but it will take work. But you can do it.
You don't just let those wounds hang open. You got to treat them and close them and make sure that you get stronger from them.
You need stitches and antibiotic.
That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Zach comes through. He's wearing a Night Watch armband, and Garibaldi's like, what's that? Zach is like, what this? Oh, it's nothing. $50 a week. Heck yeah, I'll wear a stupid armband. I wrote down that Zach is dumb, but then I was questioning, like, how much did they get paid on Babylon 5? Like, that sounded like he needed that $50, that 50 credits.
50 credits. Because, like, remember, they were charging rent, the 60 credits. But then I have to think back to when Lionheart was there, and he got the room that he could, and it was like $300 a week or a month.
People seem like they're really poor. People seem like they're really poor on Babylon 5.
I wonder if we can look up. It probably isn't.
We you know what? We should do that.
And with the writing being as inconsistent, huh? What?
I was saying we should do that as a project.
What? Figuring out the currency rate in Babylon 5.
Yeah. After Zach explains how he's getting quote unquote free money from the fascists, Sheridan meets with Kosh. He like storms down to Kosh. He's like, look, we released Morton and we did what you said, but here's what I need you to know. I'm gonna do what you say, but you're gonna teach me how to fight the shadows. Kosh is like, if you go to Zahadum, you're gonna die. And Sheridan's like, okay, cool, but I'm taking some people with me. I'm not gonna go easy. There's no face, but to me, Kosh is like, all right, young grasshopper, I like your attitude. I'm gonna teach you. apparently we have gotten Sheridan where we need him, and the episode ends. Yeah.
We finally got some of these secrets revealed. Da, 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 da.
We learned more about the shadows, and this is what we know. The galaxy is mostly unaware of the shadows. Sheridan and Babylon 5 have encountered mysterious ships from time to time. Jakar is trying to warn everybody about it. Nobody's listening to him, so but they're busy in a war. Sheridan finds out that one of the passengers on his wife's ship didn't die. And not only did that guy not die, but he has some sort of alliance with the shadows. He's never alone. And Sheridan has to pretend that he doesn't know what he knows in order to allow the forces of light to gather their forces. But what does that even mean? Who are the forces of light other than the Minbari, who are not above murdering every human in the galaxy? And the Vorlons, who are also not above murdering whoever they feel like murdering. So we're in some weird spots here. If we're splitting this up into good guys and bad guys, I'm like, well, who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? And where do the humans sit? Because they're doing some bad guy stuff. That's our episode, and that's kind of the state of the galaxy.
Amazing episode. I enjoyed it.
Let's get ourselves out of here. Thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Voices in Hyperspace. You can catch us on TikTok and Facebook. Our show is streaming on pretty much all the streaming services out there. Let your friends know, like, follow, share, and continue to join the conversation on our Facebook group, Voices in Hyperspace. I'm Legendary Black Lion. You can find me on Instagram and Threads. Just look up Legendary Black Lion and join my discussions. It's going to be fun.
I'm Captain Mel Asylum. You can find me at www.melsrebellion.com.
Hey y'all, this is Sunday. Au revoir.
We will see you out there. Until next time.